I've given everything, so you can be kingdom fit.
In this video, we are going to be taking a quick but deep, precise, in-depth dive on why fish oil supplements could be making you sick and some of the things you need to look out for just to make sure that you're not wasting your money when you go shopping for fish oil supplements and similar omega-3s in the future. But first, guys, I want to introduce myself. My name is Steve. I spent several years in the private label supplement industry, and I'm going to be giving you guys an in-depth behind the look scene at some of the things from an insider's perspective, because believe me when I tell you, when they say the claims on this label have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, they mean it. If someone sells you a bottle of vitamin C and it's full of sand, there's no regulatory oversight between it leaving the manufacturing facility and it ending up on a store shelf unless you test it. And a lot of people don't realize that. This is not the pharmaceutical industry. There's very low oversight. So we're going to be talking about tips and some things that you can do to just keep yourself safe. All right. Now, I have worked with some of the top bodybuilders in the world. There are folks that are huge on YouTube now that were my clients just starting out in 2013. Now, what private labeling is it's when you make a supplement for someone, you formulate it to what they want, you put a label on it for them, and it goes to the store or wherever they're selling it at as if they produced it. So obviously I cannot talk about who a lot of these clients were. We are under contract. However, you might see some of them on this channel in the future. All right. So let's talk about fish oil. Now, first off, fish oil, can it make you sick? The answer is yes, it can. All right. Now let's just think about if you were to go fishing, you catch a fish, you go home, you put it on your kitchen counter. What's going to happen to that fish in 2 or 3 days? Exactly. So why is fish oil any different? The primary thing that is rotting and going bad in that fish are the oils. They begin to oxidize, and it's no different in a fish oil supplement. If you take oil and you have it in a warehouse or an Amazon truck in Arizona, Texas, it's 90 degrees outside. It's in a truck for 8 hours. When I was younger, I used to work at UPS. The back of that truck is hot. It is not a place for a supplement that can oxidize. And this is happening far too commonly and more often than you guys actually realize. So what can we do about that? Well, one of the things is that some fish oil manufacturers, they are savvy to this, which is good. And they try to take some steps. So the issue with the fish oil is it is oxidizing. So how do you prevent oxidation? You need an antioxidant. One of those is vitamin E. So you will find some fish oil brands out there that are adding vitamin E. And so that is going to help to make the product more shelf stable, and it is going to keep it from oxidizing. Now, when you take an oxidized product, it is literally creating havoc in your body. It's like eating something that's rotten, but it's kind of like in a microdose. So it's not enough to make most people sick or notice it. But just imagine you're spending your hard-earned money trying to just be proactive and be healthy, take care of yourself, and you're actually taking something every day that your body hates and is not good for you. It's more common than you think. All right. But we're going to talk about some things that are going to help you with that. So one thing is you can look for a fish oil that has vitamin E in it, and they might use a different antioxidant like maybe vitamin C, but just look at what's on the label and take it from there. Now, at this point in my journey, and I'm always continually learning and researching and seeing what the latest thing is, but right now I have settled on krill oil. That is my favorite source of omega-3. And I'm going to talk about why. So first off, krill oil naturally has astaxanthin in it, and astaxanthin is a very powerful antioxidant. Now, what is the difference? You could just put vitamin E in fish oil. Well, for me, I definitely believe that nature is best, right? I'm a believer, and I think that we have an intelligent design in nature for sure. And so anytime I can take something that naturally has the antioxidant in it, I just believe it's going to work more synergistically, right? Than adding things together that aren't found together naturally. So that's the first thing I like about it. But another bonus is that astaxanthin, it's a supplement in itself. People pay for this to get the benefits of it. And when you take krill oil, you're actually getting it as a bonus. You're getting 2 supplements in one, right? Antioxidants are great for you. They prevent oxidation in your body just as they do in a fish oil supplement. When you think of oxidation, you bite into an apple, you put it on the counter for 20 minutes, it starts to turn brown. That is oxidation. Certain things oxidize really fast, like an apple, but fish oil is another one of those things. So something we got to pay more attention to. Now, some of you might think, maybe I just want to stay away from the animal-based things altogether. I feel that that's just has a less chance of spoiling. If you want to go that route, algae oil is an option. There is algae oil out there. It's a potent source as well, and you can get your daily requirements through that. But for me, I like the krill oil, and I already explained why. But let's just compare the three. So on a gram for gram basis, fish oil is going to have 300 to 500 milligrams of your omega-3s. Krill oil is going to have 150 to 250 milligrams of your omega-3s. And the algae is going to give you about 200 to 400 milligrams. So the fish oil has the most. But another thing I want to point out is that krill oil, the omega-3s are phospholipids, which is a different molecular structure. So they are larger in size, which is why you can fit less of them in a gram. However, phospholipids are more digestible by our bodies. So there's a strong chance that even though you're getting less technically that you're consuming, your body's able to absorb more, or there's more omega-3 bioavailable in the krill oil because of the phospholipids. So that's something you want to pay attention to as well. Now, another thing you can do is, and we'll talk about daily doses, right? But another thing you can do to meet your daily dose is you can take a high concentration version. So it's not so much of a big deal on a gram for gram basis, because what you really want to focus on is your serving size. You just want to make sure that if you're trying to get 1,000 milligrams a day, the serving size fits that, right? We're not taking it in a gram per gram basis, so it really doesn't matter. It's not that important. But the version I take is a concentrated version of krill oil. You can see extra strength, right? So this version is that. However, what you want to pay attention to as well is things from the sea can have mercury in them, all right? You want to pay attention to heavy metals for sure. If you're taking something and you're concentrating it to make it extra strength, if your process is not a good process, you're also concentrating the heavy metals. Now, this particular brand, they do talk about that on the label. They mention it, which makes me feel better. And they say that it's been tested and there is no mercury in it, which is good. However, I always recommend you guys to use a reputable brand that you like, because that's going to be the main thing. Someone with a track record that has been around for ideally at least a decade. 2-3 decades is even better. There are companies out there like that with a really good track record. But as I mentioned earlier, you're really just believing what the manufacturer is telling you for the most part, unless you're testing it yourself, which we can't test all our supplements, right? It's unrealistic. So as I mentioned, mercury, heavy metals is one thing you want to pay attention to. And just to do a quick dive into that, let's talk about my favorite source of omega-3s, which is whole foods. Anytime you want to get any form of nutrient, if you can get it in a whole food, that is the best source. So the two best sources that I like that are super quick, super easy, almost like a supplement in themselves, are a can of tuna and a can of sardines, right? Simple, accessible, quick, pop them open. If you like these are good sources, all right? So a 4-ounce can of albacore tuna is going to have about 600 milligrams in it, and a 3.75 ounce of sardines, which is what this is. And you want to get these in oil, okay? Olive oil to be specific. Do not consume seed oils. They clog you up. They're bad stuff. I will talk about that in another video. So oil or water, but if you get it in olive oil, that's going to add even a little bit more omega-3s, which is why you're taking it, right? So again, 1 gram to 1.5 grams or 1,500 milligrams in this, and about 600 milligrams in this albacore. Now, this is actually chunk light tuna, okay? Light tuna has about half the amount. So you're actually only gonna get about 300 milligrams in a can like this. The albacore has more. However, just to touch briefly on the heavy metals again, because I'm a big believer in detox. And the thing about certain compounds is they just build up in your tissues, right? A lot of people might not realize, but chunk light is a fish that is low on the food chain. And fish that are low on the food chain, they have much less heavy metals in them. Now, something like an albacore, they can actually be up to 80 pounds. It's a massive fish and they're high on the food chain. And through a process of biomagnification, the issue with that is that when you have a big fish that's eating a fish that's eating a fish that all have mercury in it, it accumulates in the tissue of the large fish. And then what magnifies it is things that are higher on the food chain, they tend to have a very long lifespan. And because mercury does not really flush out of our tissues naturally, it builds and builds and builds. So the chunk light tuna, there's about 3 times more mercury in albacore tuna, but there's also about roughly 3 to 5 times more omega-3s. So it's kind of a wash, to be honest. In terms of whether one is better or not, it's just more of a preference, maybe the price, but it kind of evens itself out either way. And just to touch on a couple other things while we're on the subject, some other fish that are known to have potentially concerning amounts of mercury in them that are very high on the food chain are going to be swordfish, king mackerel, and I already touched on albacore tuna. So that's something you can kind of just stick in your back pocket for the future if you're someone that likes seafood. Now let's talk about the daily doses. The American Heart Association recommends 250 to 500 milligrams per day of omega-3s. Now, I don't trust these associations at all. A lot of them have backdoor deals. This is university research that's receiving funding and grants from certain people. And you got to be really careful. If any of you are old enough to remember the food pyramid from when we were young, when I was in grade school, we now know that that is garbage. Okay. It was an agenda. They were trying to sell certain types of foods, breakfast cereals to kids. Now that's why they all had ADHD. I mean, it's just straight carbohydrates with fake vitamins in it, right? So you have to take some of these things with a grain of salt and always just do your own due diligence, which is why you guys have me. I'm here for it. All right. Now, for heart disease prevention, you want to take about 1,000 milligrams, and that's more in my realm of realistic. I think that's a good minimum dose you should be taking. And then for someone that has high triglycerides, yes, omega-3s can help with high triglycerides and issues in that realm, right? Some of the things that people might take cholesterol medication for. I'm not saying replace your cholesterol medication with omega-3, but it is something that is worth, if you're getting your tests, you can try it and see if your numbers are improving. And for high triglycerides, the recommended dose is 2 to 4 grams a day, or 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams. All right. Now let's talk about some of the benefits. If you didn't know, omega-3s are an umbrella term, and the two components that make up omega-3s are actually EPA and DHA, and they kind of have different uses. So depending on what benefits you like, you can try to get a source that has more of one or more of the other. It's a ratio, but for the most part, it's kind of the same. It's not a big difference depending on your source, okay? EPA is more known for inflammation, heart health, and cardiovascular health. Now, DHA is more reputed for its benefits for your brain, your eyes, your retina, your vision, things of that nature. And then there are many other fringe, just lesser known benefits that, if you do research, it's going to say this has not really been proven, but some studies suggest. But sperm count in men, testosterone in men, DHA is known to be good for that. Anxiety and skincare as well, or like acne. And some of you guys know, like, people have oily skin. Oil is a defense and something that your skin uses. It just has to be in the right ratios, but it gives you a lot of ingredients for healthy skin. All right. So we touched on doses. We touched on the three main sources that I would look at and how they compare on a gram for gram basis. We talked a little bit about mercury. That was a bonus for you guys. And make sure you guys are always doing your due diligence. I'm going to start to bring some more information to you guys in terms of what supplements are good, but make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. That will help a lot, because as I build this channel, it's going to enable me to be able to go to some of these manufacturers and be able to get coupon codes and deals for you guys on the brands that I recommend, and hopefully some partnerships. We will definitely get there eventually together. So I appreciate you guys. I bless you, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you next time. Take care.
I see you.